Hey, my name is Simon Ellis, and I'm the International Creative Director for a well-known hair company called Schwarzkopf Professional. And I've been in the industry over 40 years, and I have learned from some amazing people. And what I want to do is create 12 masterclasses, which cover 40 years of my professional life. Because what I've got is some key learnings. I've met some great people who've given me some really inspirational ideas that have helped me grow my career over these last, as I said, 40 years. And today, what I want to do is start with my first masterclass. And this is called Building a Career, because this is the starting point in any journey that a young person would take. So let's start with the first step, which is what makes you special. What is your personal, unique selling point? Why is that important? Because we work and live in a crowded landscape. And you imagine, often when you're going in for a job interview or where you're deciding where you want to go, often you have to be able to sell yourself in 20 seconds. And it's very interesting. Often I will say to people that I'm interviewing, I will say, you've got what I call an elevator conversation with me. That means you need to explain yourself in 20 seconds. What does that mean? It means, tell me why you're better, more creative, harder working, whatever, in 20 seconds to me. And it's very interesting because what has happened over my life, I travel the world and often I see a lot of different hairdressers, whether they're creatives, whether they're working behind the chair, whether they're colorists and specialists, or whether they're just salon owners. And one of the key questions I always ask is, what makes you different and special? That's a simple question to say. But what I also say is, can you explain to me in one simple sentence what makes you stand out? Because if you can understand what you're good at doing, then it's better and you're more able to be able to sell yourself. For example, if you said, what is Simon? Or if I said, how would I describe myself to most people and say, what is my USP? I would say, I've got an inquisitive mind. I think that's very important, to be inquisitive, to be able to go out into the world and look at it from different angles, from different perspectives. So for me, whether it's everything from the weather to classical music, I'm interested. And why am I interested? Because I know I can gain something for it. So, describe Simon Ellis, he's inquisitive. Second, he's able to convey things with enthusiasm and with passion. So that's how I describe myself. I always say to people, if you want to talk to me, if you need me, I can stand on stage, I can go out into the world, and I will bring across a message with strength, power, conviction, and most importantly, with enthusiasm. So, what does that mean for you? So when you describe yourself to the world, you need to be able to pick maybe 2 or 3 key elements that make you what you believe to be unique in this world. Because at the end of the day, that is what is going to sell you and put you in the right job. So my second point, my second tip, is set your own personal goals and make them time-bound. Why are these elements really important? Well, first of all, when you're starting out in life, as I said before, you've defined your unique selling point. What makes you as an individual special? Next point is to say, what is it that you want to achieve in your professional life? How are you going to go and move forwards? And I often say to people, just write down, not too many, maybe 2 or 3. Because, for example, in the hairdressing industry, the first thing I ask hairdressers or potential hairdressers is to say, you're entering into our industry, and what is it that you want to do? Do you want to be a ladies' hairdresser? Do you want to be a male hairdresser or barber? Do you want to be a colorist? Do you want to specialize in one of those fields? Or do you want to be a generalist? And it's often dictated by, first of all, the level of training that you're going to be able to take. Because when you think about it, if you want to be something special and unique, I call it, and what I used to say, is you're either master of one or you're master of none. So focus on what you want to do and what you want to be, and really focus down and have a clear objective to say, I want to be, for example, in my industry, I would say, I want to be a ladies' hairdresser. And then it's to say, how am I going to go? How am I going to take those steps? Who am I going to talk to? What are the companies I'm going to, shall we say, shortlist that I would like to work with, who I believe would give me the right level of training and the necessary skills to be able to grow my career. That's really important. The second topic is to say, we can dream big in life, but it's really important to think to oneself, how does one go about it? In what time span? It's easy to say, one day I want to be a ladies' hairdresser, and to set a goal and say, it's going to be 5, 6, 7 years. No, I always say, keep it short, keep it smart, keep it hard, and push for a clear timing. Say to yourself, I want to be within this time span, I want to get to that level. And that also defines how you then drive and organize yourself. And I know it's tough because when one is young, one doesn't think in those kind of ways. But I clearly say to you that for me, it is a clear learning that when I'm interviewing people, I want to see that they have got a clear goal, a clear objective, and that there is a given time frame in which they want to achieve these things. Why? Because it says to me that they are, most importantly, determined to achieve future success. And that's what I'm looking for in that person. My third tip is about building a network and always seeking the best advice. Why would you say that building a network is important? Well, in life, we always rely on the people around us. And at the end of the day, one's strength, one's confidence is built with the kind of friends that one has, the acquaintances, as well as one's professional people that we like to engage with. And in my life, I have had the privilege to be able to work with some very special people. When I started out, I was, shall we say, pretty scared. Why? Because I actually decided I wanted to work for the very best hairdressing company in the world. And we even termed that company the Harvard of hair. So you can imagine that is the kind of standard that one wanted to achieve. But to do that, and I knew it was really tough, I knew that only out of every 100 people that were employed, that at the end of the training period, which in those days was 3.5 years, we used to land up with 5. So the people who were left were truly special. But what I realized was that I wanted to be one of those 5. And I knew that I had something special in me, which was my willingness to learn, my enthusiasm for what I was doing, and also my inquisitiveness to be able to understand all the things that were, shall we say, driving this company forwards. And what I realized was that this company was made up of really diverse and very special people. And even though it was a hairdressing company, we had people who'd studied fine art at the Royal College of Art in London. We had people who'd actually studied sculpture because for them it was something very special, because they saw that hair as a medium was 3-dimensional. And so these people actually brought something quite unique to the table. And for me, that was one of the things that inspired me, that made me determined to go on. And sometimes you fall upon really tough times, hard times. And that's when one's network is valuable. Why? Because if you have the right people around you, you can go and seek the right advice. You can say, why am I struggling? Why am I finding this element or this subject difficult to deal with? Or can you give me a hint, tips and tricks, how to move forward, how to overcome those kind of obstacles? And often that network of people who know you will often be able to look at you or look at the problem from, shall we say, a distance, be able to give you an objective opinion on what you're doing, where you're going, and how you want to achieve success. So for me, this is really important. Build the network that you want to have for the future. And I don't just mean on a social media scale. What I'm talking about is they're not necessarily the best friends that you can have. I would say you need to build a personal network, people that you can talk to face to face. And what you have to think about is, at the end of the day, the kind of advice that you're going to get from those people has to be relative to the kind of problem that you're facing. And never be afraid to tell the truth, to be able to see, because that's when the right advice stands true. So my fourth tip today is learn from the best and never stop learning. So what does that mean? Learning from the best. Well, I would say in my career, what I've always aspired to be is to be quality driven. I've aspired always to be able to achieve a technical standard that is better than the norm. That's just me, because mediocre rules the world. And frankly, everybody can be mediocre, but not everybody can be exceptional. And that's really important to understand. Why is exceptional so much better? Because at the end of the day, in our industry, whether it's hair or anything else, you can charge more. Second point here is, where do you find the best? You know, at the end of the day, I always say, go and look. And this is where social media, this is where the internet, the web is really amazing. Why? Because you can look at an industry, you can look at a particular area, and you can say, who are the greatest influencers, the best experts, and so on. And never be afraid to talk to them. You know, all you've got to do is ask a question. And often a lot of people say, oh, I don't dare do these kind of things. Why? What is the reason for not doing things? And I always say, if you can identify, as I said before, your network that you want to build, that network, as I said before, needs to comprise special people if you want to do special things. And if you research it properly, whether they're across the world, you can still ask. And you can do FaceTime, you can do Skype, you can do mail, whatever you want to do, ask the question. And as far as I'm concerned, once you've learned, it doesn't mean you stop. You know, I've been in this industry for more than 40 years. And you know, because it's fashion-led, fashion-driven, it is constantly changing. The landscape of hair and beauty is something that is totally dynamic. It changes every season. It changes week by week. Sometimes you have a celebrity who appears who's suddenly got a new hairstyle or a new hair color, and we have to react to it. But that's what keeps you young. That's what keeps you moving forward. It's what makes it so exciting in this world. And so I would always say to you, be inquisitive. Always want to learn. Learn from the best, find the right people, and at the end of the day, even if you're more mature in your career path, still never be afraid to embrace the new, the fresh. Why? Because it keeps you young, it keeps you motivated, it keeps you inspired. My fifth and last tip. Be bold, be fearless. Wow, that's an interesting topic. Why is that relevant? Well, for me, I always say, dream big. Dream big. Because if you start small, you never achieve anything. And I always say, you know what? Shoot for the stars. Shoot for the stars. So when you're starting out, do you remember I said to you, you need a game plan. You need to think, what are your objectives in life? But don't be restrictive. Dream the full potential of what you would like to be. Because if you can shoot for the stars, you will get 3/4 of the way there. You know, when I first started my career 40 years ago, I had no idea I was going to fall into hairdressing. I was studying, I was at university, I was going to be a journalist, I wanted to go into advertising, I studied languages. And that was my career path. And then suddenly I was talking to someone who was in the fashion industry. And that person was absolutely inspirational. And over one evening, just sitting there over a glass of wine, she managed to, shall we say, change my world. And that's what made me decide to become a hairdresser. I mean, crazy stuff. But when I started that path of becoming a hairdresser, I said from the outset, from the beginning, I want to learn from the best and I want to be the best. Why? Because that was always the dream that I wanted to achieve. And my friend at that time, she said to me, you know, when you start in life, You have to, as you say, be bold. And you have to go out there and you have to fight for things. And she said to me, you know, the biggest issue in life is sometimes to be frightened. We actually set our own restrictions. We set and create our own barriers. And we actually don't achieve our full potential because we're afraid to. And so I say, dream big, dream the big horizon. Second topic is to achieve them, don't be afraid. Because often the new is not as fearless and not as frightening as one at first thinks. But also, when you achieve those things, when you break through, when you do something that you would never have done, it makes you feel good. And that helps build up confidence. And confidence builds and breeds success. Because when I meet good hairdressers, these people are creative, they're inquisitive, they are, shall we say, people who stand proud and shout loud. And that's what makes this world go round. That's what achieves success in any worthwhile career.